Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. Today I want to talk a little bit about my personal experience with self-defense and less lethal defense and what is my biggest regret. And it doesn't have anything, I'll tell you right up front, it doesn't have anything to do with my choice of launcher or anything that I've ever done to a launcher. It doesn't have anything to do with jewels. It just has to do with my mindset at different ages of my life, and the fact that I did not get self-aware about self-defense and the need to be prepared and to have a tool on my body. I did not have that awareness through most of my life. So my biggest regret is that I did not get involved in this much earlier in my life. I became aware of this, it was in 2020, and so I was at a point in my life where I had just, after many years, you sort of get immune to worrying about the environment because you've gone through so many decades, and you were never a victim of a crime. And I don't have any. I know that I have been in dangerous situations, and I know that I've done some things where I shouldn't have been in that place at that time. But but it always worked out, and I never had a tool with me. I never had a tool in my body. I was relying on my fist and my legs. That was my strategy. If the situation came along, I was gonna have to fight, and I was gonna run, and I could use my voice, but that's not a very good strategy. I went through my 20s, I went through a lot of training in my career, lived in downtown area in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you know Memphis, it wasn't, and I don't know how it is now, but in the 90s, it wasn't the safest place to be. I had to park in a parking garage across from a high-rise apartment complex. And I had to park across there, getting home late at night in the dark, and I had to cross the street, and then I get in an elevator. Sometimes you have groceries, other things, and I always was concerned that some guy is going to step out from the shadows in that garage, or in the alley as I go across the street and through an alley to get to the entrance to my building. I was just prepared every single time that somebody was going to come, but I had no tool to defend myself. It just was not part of my world. I grew up not in a family that did hunting. My dad was a police officer at one point in time, and of course, we learned some things, and we did have some rifles and shotguns, and he tried to teach us, but me and my brother, we were very much focused on sports. We were the anti-hunting. We had no interest in the guns. We had no interest in worrying about self-defense because we grew up in a small town, and it was very safe, extremely safe. It was a different world back in the 70s and 80s in rural areas of the United States, and it probably still is. But as I got older and I moved to big cities, and I had to spend some time in Memphis, we spent some time going in and out of Baltimore. We lived in Cleveland. We lived in places where there were definitely encounters with people, and I've talked about some of those types of things in the past. I've talked about my encounter here at my home, where two guys were getting ready to break in, and I, again, was lucky. I was not prepared for them, and I scared them away basically just by opening the window, and they could see that I was there, and just the fact that I was there was enough for them to turn around and leave. But my regret would be that I could have been seriously harmed, and I could have been attacked, and it didn't happen, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I regret that I started late. But the point, the positive message here is that later is better than never. Once you are tuned in and now you're thinking in the right way about your self-defense, then you can make good decisions about what you need. And I'm very open-minded about all of the various strategies that people employ. And I have very pointed opinions about what works in this situation, what works in that situation, and I'm happy to express those opinions. But if you choose to use a really weak launcher, or you choose to upgrade your launcher, those are decisions that you have to make based on the risk-benefit ratio. Sometimes those decisions will be the exact right thing to do legally. It worked, you were lucky. Or it might turn out you have a failure in your launcher, or it was too powerful. You end up in various legal trouble. And there's a lot of things that can happen. And I'm going to talk in a future video about what is some actual legal prosecutions that have happened to people from using air-powered launchers. And it's not exactly what you would think. And so I think it's going to be an interesting topic for a future video. But I just want to finish on this one by just reminding everyone that you should be taking steps to protect yourself. You need something. And in the past, I would have, my default was compliance. If the person pulled a weapon on me, I would have handed over what I had, and I would have hoped for the best. And that is putting your life and your health in somebody else's hands, and as a criminal who already you can't trust. And this day and age, in this environment, is not a smart move. Even in that time, in the 90s, it was not a smart move. Crime was actually spiking in the 90s. That was when it was really dangerous here. Then it went way down. The policies to control crime brought it way down, and then it has gone back up. And so these 2 points in my life, I have a very different strategy now versus back in the 90s when it was spiking. So I go about it in a different way. With that said, I still have yet to have the motivation that I feel in threat enough that I need to carry a firearm on body. I think it's important to have one if you can have one, and I have one at home, and it is, I think, is more than suitable for what I need. But I don't feel the need to carry it. I feel that is a very personal decision for everyone. It's certainly something that I'm open-minded to. I just have not felt threatened enough. If it gets, the crime rate has gone up here, if it starts going back down, I'll feel better. If it keeps going and we really get into bad situations, then I am definitely not opposed to that. And I am definitely interested in smaller, more subcompact launchers that I can carry easier, because like I say in many of my videos, if it's not comfortable, if you can't carry it comfortably on body, then you just won't carry it. And right now that's sort of where I am with my thinking. And so find what works for you, find what you'll carry, and be prepared to use it. And I criticize folks in some of my recent videos talking about, if you don't pay attention to self-defense and you're just a hobbyist and you're only having fun, then you're not really serious about less lethal defense. That is true. I think they go hand in hand. Get you a launcher, teach your family how to use it. You learn how to use it, but go the next step and actually figure out how you're going to carry it and what is realistic and what's not when it comes to the ammo that you use in the situations where it's applicable, and just be realistic. I don't mean to minimize any form of less lethal defense. I will be talking more about less lethal defense, what works, what doesn't, from historical data that's out there. I've talked about it a little bit before. There's some really interesting observations that have been made not recently, but I recently learned about some interesting aspects of less lethal defense that I really want to share. So again, stay tuned. I'm always trying to bring you new information and make you think, and that's what it's all about. Everybody stay prepared, be ready, and be safe, and we'll see you in the next one.